Welcome to another exciting episode of Brewed Awakenings. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, Jelynn Malone, the co-founder of Mostra Coffee, one of the most unique and innovative coffee businesses I've ever come across. Jelynn's journey is a fascinating one, from gracing the stage as a dancer and TV host in Hollywood, to embarking on an entrepreneurial adventure that celebrates her Filipino roots and promotes economic opportunities for coffee farmers in the Philippines. In this episode, we'll dive into Jelynn's inspiring story, exploring her transition from the entertainment industry to the world of coffee entrepreneurship. We'll learn about the unique focus of Mostra Coffee on Philippine coffee and how the venture embodies aspects of Filipino culture and tradition. And of course, there's more. We'll also dive into the innovative approach that Mostra Coffee brings to the specialty coffee sector, setting itself apart from the typical coffee establishments. Jelynn will share insights into the operational challenges they've faced, the valuable lessons they've learnt along the way, and their ambition plans for future expansion. Get ready for an engaging and enlightening conversation that covers a wide range of topics, from entrepreneurship and innovation to cultural preservation and economic empowerment. Jelynn's passion and expertise are sure to inspire and educate, whether you're a coffee nerd, an aspiring entrepreneur, or simply someone who appreciates a good story. Now join us as we explore the interesting world of Mostra Coffee and the incredible journey of its co-founder, Jelynn Malone. Hey Jelynn, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I know that you're quite busy being in this space, having your shops running around. I'm very grateful and thankful. Appreciate it,
I'm
buddy.
happy. I'm happy to be here and share the story with you all.
I think Jelyn has an amazing story and it's very different to what we often hear. So I'm going to kick off with, what's your backstory behind Mostra Coffee and how did you go from TV in Hollywood to the world of coffee?
We'll go to my backstory personally first. So my background is right out of high school, I became a professional hip hop dancer in Hollywood. I knew I wanted to be in entertainment and perform, and being Filipino American, Asian American, I really wanted to create representation for Asians in entertainment and media and also be a positive role model. That was a really big deal for me just because growing up, I was not around in elementary school. I was the only Filipino kid for a few years. And I had a little bit of an identity crisis and I didn't know my place. And so I had a whole entertainment background. So I became a dancer and then I got an agent and started hosting television and then acting in TV and film. And I did that for over 10 years. But in the process of doing that, my best friend, Beverly Magtanong, she's an opera singer, and we've been best friends for over 27 years. And we knew that though we had a passion in entertainment, we always wanted to do something. We wanted to open a business and we didn't know what. When I was 17, right out of high school, my dad took me to the Philippines for the first time since I had been 5. And I just remember being in a car and there were kids that were like begging at the window, like at a stoplight. And I was like, oh my gosh. And being a teenager in San Diego, like I was thinking, like all of a sudden, all the things I ever complained about in my life suddenly just melted away. And I just was extremely like inspired in that moment that I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to do something about this. These children should not be out in the streets. And when it was something that like stuck with me at 17. And so I had always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to do something to positively impact the Philippines. And so, anyways, but I had no idea. So I was in entertainment. And then Bev and I, now fast forward probably almost 10 years, we had an opportunity to go to the Philippines. And we were working with an organization out there that was building homes for the poor. And so then again, so now here I am 10 years later, and I'm getting this new experience with my best friend who had never been there. And we were inspired on that trip to again do something to positively impact the Philippines and the Filipino people. And because we were working with the poor, we were asking people, what is it that we can do to eradicate poverty here? Like this, because the country itself was so beautiful. Like the people were so loving, the country so beautiful, the culture is so rich. And we were like, oh my gosh, like we love the Philippines, but like how do we create an opportunity? So the people there were like, if you want to really positively impact people in the Philippines and you want to help eradicate poverty, you need to create jobs so people can have sustainable livelihoods. So we were like, okay, so then we went home, and it took 3 years before we ever got around to getting the inspiration to start Mostra. And Bev and I did not drink coffee at all. We drank Starbucks frappuccinos occasionally, with extra whipped cream and extra everything. And we at the time didn't own any coffee makers, no brewing, anything. I can tell you the honest truth. I didn't even know coffee came from a cherry and it was roasted. Because I just did not drink coffee at all. And anyway, so yeah, so we came back, and when we learned that specialty coffee was grown in the Philippines, we both got a light bulb that a we wanted to create a business that would allow and create a global demand for Philippine specialty coffee. And then roasters and would start sourcing coffee from the Philippines, and then that would in turn create jobs for farmers.
Wow, what an amazing story, Jelynn. I can empathize with parts of that story as well. It reminded me a bit about my journey when I was a teenager going overseas to Asia for the first time. I grew up in Australia, so it's a very sheltered place, and seeing poverty for the first time, it was such a culture shock to me as well. And I didn't know what to do about it. And so I didn't have your strength or your courage to think about doing something about it straight away. And also, similar to you, me and my friends, when we first started our cafe, we had no idea. At least we liked drinking coffee, though. It was a different story.
Coffee drinker. I know. It was so wild. Yeah.
I'd love to really dig into how you guys ended up making an impact in the Philippines and how you've popularized coffee over there and for the roasters to source coffee from the Philippines. I really want to get into that in a little bit down the track. And before I get into that, I wanted to see how your Hollywood experience as a TV host or as a dancer and in entertainment, how did that impact your approach to entrepreneurship and marketing at Mostra Coffee?
Honestly, being an entertainer has been probably the most powerful tool that I've had as an entrepreneur. It's when you're in entertainment, you are one, pursuing it most likely because it's your passion. So you have all the heart and the passion there, because it's not an easy thing you start with heart and passion and love for what you do. And then as an entrepreneur, anyone who asks me, I'm like, if you are not passionate about this, just don't even bother, because it is too hard and too much of a roller coaster that the only way that you stay on the path is if you love it so much and you have purpose. That, for one, was something that I only personally know how to pursue things that I love. So that was one. Two, the entertainment industry is a brutal place to be. Like, you don't know when you have another job. You don't know, like, you can go 2 weeks without having an audition. And the uncertainty of money is probably the biggest lesson that I've learned. Rejection. You put your whole heart and soul out there in a performance, in an audition, in a role, whatever it is you're doing. And it's an incredibly vulnerable place to be, because you're in a position to just be judged the entire time. And as an entrepreneur, you don't know what's around the corner. You don't know if you're going to have another opportunity. You don't know if customers are going to walk in your door. You don't know if anyone's going to like your stuff. But yet, like, you have the grit and the determination to just keep pushing forward and giving your best performance, because you're passionate about what you're doing and you believe in yourself more than anybody else to keep giving you that motivation to keep going. I think attention to detail as an entertainer, you have to know that. As a host in particular, I would interview some of the biggest stars in Hollywood, or I would have to host a gala for 500 to 1,000 people, or I used to host my own show where I had a live audience and my guests would come on. And sometimes I'd get a guest that was like ready to roll and they had a lot to say. But sometimes, even though they're performers in real life, when you're interviewing them, they're not as assertive as you would think. So then my responsibility as a host was to like pull out their personality. So it's just so much like processing quickly, so much trying to stay on your toes and keep everyone like moving forward. And it's just like an incredible amount of detail that goes into actually being a performer. And you have to know people as a host and as an actor, you got to know people. And as an entrepreneur, you're selling to people, and in marketing, you have to know people. And so knowing how to put yourselves in the outsider's shoes constantly and go, okay, how is what I'm presenting impacting? How would I be impacted? What would I want to see? So I'm constantly doing that, but I feel like I have an extra advantage to that being an actor, because as an actor, I'm like, okay, I'm playing this completely different person who has a totally different life that I don't relate to at all. But I have to be her, and then I have to be this version of a different character. And so I'm like an observer of humanity, basically, and applying that in my business. But then also having the grit to like finish the job till it's done, because when you're a performer and you're on stage, like you can't, like the show must go on, was that quote. If your costume fell, you forgot your lines, if the sound goes out, if all the things that can happen, and you just have the ability to keep going. And entrepreneurship is hard, and not knowing if you're going to get paid. That's why I said that in the beginning. As an entertainer, you can literally go like a whole year without a job. Luckily, I didn't. I was very blessed to not have that. It's that lifestyle, like where you sacrifice a certain lifestyle for a bigger dream down the road. I feel like that's what it is.
When I was reading up and doing some research on your story, I thought, wow, this is very interesting. I don't know anyone who's made the shift from the entertainment industry to the coffee industry. And hearing from your story, the edge that I think that your team has because of your background is invaluable. Like you said, the way that you understand like the way that you understand people and your network, your connections, how you will be able to market is very different. And even looking through your Instagram and seeing the way that you guys do things is very different to the usual cafes.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really puts you guys apart, among many other things. Obviously, you've got many prongs in your business. But yeah, entrepreneurship is freaking hard. Even the cafe industry is very difficult as well. My background is going from mechanical engineer to the coffee industry, and man, it starts off as a people business, but then you start to understand about operations and then the numbers and all these things with such slim margins. The people side of it is beautiful. I love that. But then when it comes to the number crunching side, oh man, it's so slim. It's so difficult. So it's a massive learning, and definitely grit comes into play. And I think, yeah, I can imagine. I've personally never been in the entertainment industry, but I hear so many stories about how difficult and challenging it is. And like the entertainment industry, the cafe must go on, regardless of how you feel.
I just think it's interesting that you observe that from us, because now that I'm in it and I've been in it for 10 years, I observe other coffee shops too. And I actually think to myself, man, I actually think that I benefited from not being a coffee person and not knowing the coffee culture and the way people did things, because I went into it completely blind, and it made up all of my own rules as to how we operate in a business. As we operate as a cafe. Because I'm like, there was literally not one coffee company that I was aspiring to be like because I didn't drink coffee. And it's just interesting that you recognize and see how different it is and how you see it as like an interesting and cool edge.
I'll definitely be keeping an eye on you guys and get some inspiring ideas from how you guys market and do business over there. I'm always curious about different spaces around the globe, especially in people in Australia are quite boring. We do all very similar things.
Uh,
Hey, what's the significance of the name Mostra for the cafe
well,
or for the
Mostra
coffee
means,
business?
yeah, Mostra means show and performance in Italian. And when we were thinking up a name, Bev and I, though we started Mostra to champion Philippine coffee, we didn't necessarily want to go and do like a Filipino name because we really wanted a global appeal. If we were going to make Philippines create a global demand for the Philippines, we just didn't want to we didn't want to pigeonhole ourselves in any kind of category. But when we were going through it, we ended up with an Italian name, which actually is culturally, I think, okay, because when people think of Italy, they think of coffee, but that's not even what we were thinking. We were just like, let's find a name that no one has really heard of unless you know what it means but the original significance behind it was it meant show and performance. And with Bev and I being entertainers, and we really wanted to implement an experience for our customers. So if you go to Mostra, you'll see that we have Mavam espresso machines in all of our spaces, and they're all these under counter espresso machines, and it's to give people the open kitchen experience. So having your coffee being made is a show and an experience. Yeah, but we originally did that because of our backgrounds. And then we ended up like realizing that people drink coffee to perform well in whatever it is that they're doing in life. Stay at home mom to a doctor to an athlete and everything in between. That's pretty much how we found the connection there.
What an interesting background for choosing the name. I would never thought that how you guys tie in the names. And I think it's when you're thinking from cafe to cafe, the inspiration that people get behind their names and where they connect the things it's not always right off the cuff that you get it. And I think that the story behind it is always quite interesting. So thank you for sharing.
Sure.
Now, time to go back, circle back to the part that now time to circle back into the original conversation about coffee from the Philippines. Can you delve into how Mostra Coffee sources its beans and the importance of your direct trade relationships with Filipino farmers? Let's get into that.
Yeah, we work with a company called Calzada, and they pretty much have a whole organization of farmers that all work under their umbrella. And it took us 3 years to even find coffee. So we had this big plan to do Philippine coffee. We actually called one of the biggest green bean distributors in the world right when we started Mostra, trying to get Philippine coffee. And they were like, "What are you talking about? There's no coffee in the Philippines." And we're like, "Wait, what?" But we read all about this on Google, and they're like, "No, there's no coffee in the Philippines." And it was like that in that moment, we were like, wow, okay, our goal and our journey is going to be a lot more interesting than we thought. Because we thought we were just going to grab it and start going and trying to figure this out. But that's not how this whole thing happened. And yeah, so it took 3 years. We had been trying to contact people in the Philippines, and there were a couple times that we had even sourced something and they sent us samples, which was great. But then when we tried to get it out of the country, it didn't go according to plan, and it never made it over. So we were hit with a lot of challenges. And in the meantime, we sourced coffee from all over the world, and we still do. But once we finally got in touch with Calzada, it was actually started by a girl that is a Filipino American. I believe she's from Seattle, but she moved to the Philippines and had a similar goal to us. She really wanted to revive the origin of Philippine coffee again. And yeah, so there's a ton of different farmer families that are from Mindanao all the way up to Baguio in the Philippines. And we've done one origin trip out there so far. We hope to go next year again with our director of coffee. We go out there we've cupped the coffee. We are able to see all of their farming practices. And yeah, and then they're just in constant contact with our director of coffee, Ryan Sullivan. And what's been really fun too is he has been working and collaborating with them to improve any farming practices. And we've invested in some equipment to help them produce more coffee. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We have sourced coffee from other farms in the past, but it's not as easy yet to get the product out. So Calzada's got a great operation where they're able to get everything to us. We recently got a huge shipment of coffee from them, and we're currently the largest purchaser of Philippine specialty coffee in the US.
Wow, go you guys. it's I don't think people really understand how difficult it is to get coffee out of one country into another. They're just like,
Yes.
oh, you just buy coffee and get it shipped over and that's it. No, dude. There is so much that goes into it, especially when it hasn't really been done before.
Yes.
All the regulations in different countries have different regulations, and it's just hoops after hoops. Um,
It is. And
so,
there was one farmer family in Mindanao that my partner, actually, no, we've done more than one origin trip. I just forgot. He did one in 2015. And he went out there and he cupped the coffee and he loved the coffee. And they were getting paid less than $1 a pound. I think it was maybe like, I can't remember if it was 70 cents or 17 cents, but it was like so insanely low. And
hmm,
they didn't have electricity. Their kids couldn't go to school. And we like brought the coffee back and some Q graders had graded it. And I think it scored like a 94 or a 93 or 94.
wow.
And we're like, you guys aren't even getting paid, $1 a pound for this. And we ended up, I don't remember the exact dollar amount, but it was, I don't know, 6x or something, 5, 6, 7x, whatever they had been getting paid. And they acted like they had won the lottery. They were
Hmm,
like, we have never made money like this before. And through Calzada too, we pay top dollar for the coffee out of the Philippines, and we're setting the standard. And we've been sending our coffees to coffee review, and the Philippine coffee is getting 92, 93 points, 94 points. And we're really excited to show the quality and also the value. Yeah. So that has probably been the best part, is to actually pay them what they're worth. And then everybody else that's trying to source the coffee now has to do the same.
I agree. I think that's a dark part of our industry, the discrepancy and people being underpaid down the chain and up the chain as well. And we need more people like you who are going out there and understanding what's happening and trying to make a difference, especially in spaces and countries where not enough attention has been placed. Like you said, you guys, there's not many. To be honest, I've never tasted Filipino coffee. I've never had coffee from the Philippines before,
Okay.
and hearing your story now is, oh wow, like I should pick up some coffee from the Philippines, and showcase it here in Sydney. And the more awareness, I think, the better, and it really makes an impact down the chain. Like my background is Vietnamese, and I've tasted some coffee from Vietnam, and it's not quite there yet in terms of specialty, but it's getting much better, and the scene is really exploding over there. And I do hope one day to bring back a lot more from Vietnam to
Yeah.
Australia and
We
share it
actually
around as well.
we have a Vietnam single origin Vietnam coffee that is a top seller at Mostra. Like, it's so good. And there's so much amazing coffee out in Southeast Asia. And I think that, like, with, yes, like more roasters and more coffee companies that are trying to shed light on it, I think it'll help open doors for opportunity for the farmers out there. And in the provinces of the Philippines, they leave to go to Manila to get a job at a call center, or the overseas workers that go to Middle East to be a housekeeper or something, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
because they don't feel like they have the opportunity at home.
Yep.
But we're trying to create that opportunity for them because the Philippines is a farming country. It has the perfect conditions to grow coffee. And if people can have that opportunity, then their families can stay together. When
Mm.
you don't have to leave your, yeah, you don't have to separate from a family.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you. I love doing these things. I don't spend enough time because I'm so busy. I don't spend enough time talking about my story and what kind of impact we have. So I can't even tell you. Every time I do a podcast interview, I end up being emotional. When Bev and I do interviews together, we end up like calling each other after. Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. Because when you're a business owner, you're just like buried and you're under all of the layers and the weight of the everyday operation. And these amazing moments happen when we won Roaster of the Year or we've done Mosterland and like big impact things. And these things happen and they're really exciting. And then you're like, okay, I got to get back to work. And when there's so much more of your energy is focused on the hustle and like getting things done and not dropping the ball. And so I love these opportunities to just pause and reflect and
Yes.
remember what we're doing. So
Yeah. Yeah. Moments like this gives us the space to really look back on what
yeah,
we've done. Like, obviously, from time to time, we get people asking, "Oh, so why'd you get into the coffee industry?" Or, "Oh, what's your story?" kind of thing. But it's a passing conversation. It's not,
yeah,
"Hey, this is a set hour to let's get into this." It's,
yeah. I
yeah,
love it.
oh, well, yeah. And this is why I love doing this as well. To really give the time space to connect. And also from owner to owner as well, which is, I think, also different because I get you. I get how tough it is. And so I'll just do a hard left turn and we'll go into something a little bit different. Mostra Coffee has been recognized for innovation. Can you discuss some of the innovative practices or products that you've created?
Yeah. Since I've been in the industry, I've gone to so many coffee shops, and there is this kind of purist coffee culture where it's drink your coffee black, don't add anything else into anything else. And again, because my partners and I were not in the coffee industry, my one of my partners, Mike Arkina, is a fine dining chef, and he is all about finding ways to bring out the flavors in coffee and complementing flavors with coffee. And so I think one of the coolest innovative things that we've done has been infusing different ingredients together with our coffee. So, for example, we do cold brew, and my gosh, the first, I would say, 5 or 6 years of Mostra, I feel like we gained a lot of popularity because of our cold brew. We have infused Philippine coconut and vanilla bean and tea and strawberries and banana and cocoa nibs. Like I can go on and on. Blueberries, like all kinds of things. And we've made these concentrated cold brews and we've bottled them, and people can take them home and dilute them. And it's just, I never would have thought you can enjoy blueberry and coffee flavor together. Like that just sounds like before all of this, like that sounds terrible to me, or banana and coffee. But we roast our coffee to really bring out certain flavor notes, and those flavor notes actually do complement these different ingredients that we're infusing together with them. I think that's been a huge thing. We have found other ways to really implement coffee being used. So I would say the biggest one is craft beer. We are the largest craft beer collaborator for coffee in the United States. And so we've done over 1,400 craft beer collaborations. And
Wow.
people, have you ever had a coffee stout or a coffee porter?
No, I haven't.
What?
I've never tried it.
Have did you even know it existed? I don't drink beer. I do now, but I didn't before. And when I heard about this, I was like, I had never heard of this before.
No, this is blowing my mind right now. I've never heard about it.
So imagine like a Guinness beer or like just a dark beer.
Mm.
And there are craft breweries that are innovative too, that like they do coffee stouts where they infuse coffee into their beer. And it really brings out the roasted flavors of the coffee, complements their dark beers. So breweries, from what I've heard in the past, they would just go to the grocery store, just buy whatever bag off the shelf, and then they would infuse it in their beer. But my partner Mike is a huge craft beer enthusiast and a chef, and so he started going around to all of his favorite breweries and going, "Hey, do you have a coffee stout coming out? Or have?" And then there's these things called pastry stouts that are like pastry flavored stout, but then we would add the element of coffee to it. So like we've done, so then he'd go there and go, "What are the flavors you're looking for?" And they'd go, "I'm really wanting chocolate covered strawberry flavor." And we'd be like, "Okay." So then he would go to the drawing board, figure out like an origin of coffee. Typically it would be like an Ethiopian coffee or something where it's like naturally processed, super fruity. And he would get that and he would roast it and get the perfect profile that was like had berry flavors.
Mm.
And then he would turn that in and they would infuse it in the beer and then it would bring that flavor out. So we've done like the most insane craft beer collaborations with marshmallow. It's just I don't feel like we have enough time for me to list off the amount of ingredients that have been either infused with our stuff or we've roasted our stuff to complement the flavor of. And I think that's been like an insane angle of the innovation side of our business. But yeah, so it's been stuff like that. And even in our drinks in the cafe, we've taken popular Philippine pastries and desserts. So like bibingka. Have you ever had bibingka?
No, again, tell me, teach me.
Okay.
I'm all ears.
Like that. It's almost like a sponge cake with like young coconut in it. It's a cake. It's probably one of the most popular Filipino pastries, desserts you can find. And
Sounds
so
delicious.
it's so good. So because we're Filipino and we want to highlight Philippine flavors and stuff like that, we actually have a bibingka creme brulee latte on our menu, and we make our own coconut milk, and we toast we yeah, we toast the top of our drinks. And it like literally like people are drinking it and they're like, "This literally tastes like bibingka and coffee in one." And it's not too sweet and it's really flavorful. But again, it's just like everything is roasted to bring out those flavors. And I don't know, we just like I think another edge to Mostra is my partner Mike. Like he's just it's there's nothing too crazy for him to dream up. And he's even taken cascara from the fruit of the cherry and he's
Mhm.
used that and made things. It's like he's nothing's going to waste here. We're using everything. Yeah.
Wow. It's like from stalk to coffee bean, cherry uses everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
Exactly.
you guys are so innovative, and I love how you guys aren't pigeoning yourselves. Like, there's a lot of specialty cafes that are so purist, and you know what? Just
Yeah.
black coffee, and we do one milk and one size, and
Yeah.
it's just like you guys don't get a choice. You just pretty much just take what we're serving you, and I don't see why not both. Like, why can't you be specialty and serve great black coffee, but
Yeah.
also expand and share with people something different? And we all come from different cultures and different backgrounds. We all got something to showcase. And yeah, why not?
It's so great because even like my entire production team, like you would think someone in the mix is like a purist and doesn't want us to keep being innovative and experimental, but everybody's, hey, like this coffee is meant for you to enjoy it how you want it. I just remembered something else too. So you're probably first to hear it. I've not announced this in any interview, or we're doing brew bag. So it's coffee in a tea bag.
Mm-hmm.
And we have the manufacturing equipment now to do all of this in house. And the coffee, even when they introduced it to me, I was like, there is no way this is going to be good. Like, I was just
Mm.
not convinced it was going to be good. But it's so good. Like, it's really good. And it's meant to be for convenience and on the go, if you're camping, if you're traveling, or if you just don't want to have to do the whole act of grinding your coffee, doing the thing. And we're just pushing the envelope with like how you can enjoy your coffee. We want to get into canned coffee so that we can fully control everyone's experience and allow our product to just expand to different markets outside of just San Diego.
That's so exciting, Jelynn. That's a really big opportunity to really push the envelopes and be able to share it with a lot more people, especially with the coffee bag idea as well. It's easier to ship, and it's all those things. One of my friends here in Sydney, he's not that long ago, he's also got into the bag coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I was like, oh, I don't know, man. Is it going to be? He goes, just take a box, take it home. You'll see what I mean. And as you said, like without getting out all your equipment, of course, if you brew your own equipment and you do everything and you measure everything and you do it by the tea, it's going to taste very clean and so on. However, if you just think about turn on your kettle, pop the bag in, pour it, 2 minutes later, chuck the bag out and you drink it, it's for what it is, it's pretty damn good.
Yeah. I don't typically drink drip. Like, I just don't. I'll get a latte or a cappuccino or something. But I could not stop drinking my brew bag coffee yesterday. I was like, this is so good. I'm like, this is good. I was just mind blown over the convenience and the quality of it all.
Mm.
So, yeah, no, it's great. So,
If you don't mind me asking, I'm curious for your business, because you guys have different arms from roasting, and you've got obviously the food side, you've got your beverage side, and probably like a wholesale side, and all these different sides to the business. What would you consider the breakdown of the pie in terms of revenue, like the largest part of the pie to the smallest part of the pie, if you're open to sharing?
yeah, I would say the majority is retail right now. We've been in this for 10 years, and when you are literally learning how to run a business every day, it's just, you don't know what you don't know that you should have known, and so you learn it once it's finally just slapped in your face. E-commerce was like not something that we focused on for the majority of the last decade. We were just like trying to open retail locations. I would say that retail is probably, I don't know, 60, 70% of the business right now. We hope to skew that a different way. Like we hope that e-commerce becomes the biggest revenue driver, just because that would mean that our coffee is getting everywhere when our reach is beyond San Diego. The wholesale is a small, very minimal part of our business. Because we care so much about the quality and the experience, we started off doing a lot of wholesale in the beginning, and then we realized that we were like, man, like I went to this restaurant and they have a chain, and it was one of our biggest accounts we had. And I watched them. They wanted to create like a really cool coffee experience for their customers. So they would put our coffee in a French press for your tables, like, and they would give it to you. And I would sit there and I'd be like,
Oh no.
oh my gosh, you're so busy talking. It's been 7 minutes now. Oh my God. And I'm like, just the
uh,
panic of 10 minutes passing. I was like, I'm about to go over there and press this coffee and pour it out, because it was driving us crazy. It's like that. There's that aspect of not being able to control it. There was another restaurant we went to, and it was like it just wasn't up to our standards. And I don't
Yeah.
know who was brewing it, what the grind size was. I don't know who was handling it, but it was just like, and it just fell short. And for me, I'm like, we are, we really stand behind that quality. And so the wholesale thing, we're like on the fence about whether or not like we just continue to really do that or what. But it's predominantly retail right now.
Mm. And just to dive a little bit deeper with retail, is it more of the coffee beans or is it like the packaged goods in terms of like cold brew bottles or the craft beers? What would you say would be the
Mm.
larger
You know,
or
it's weird.
smaller?
It's not the same in every store. And it's so interesting. Like, we have this one store that's in a very upper class neighborhood where these people can afford to not brew their own coffee. Like, if anything, they might have an espresso or a Keurig or something, but like
Mm.
they can afford to go in every day and get a latte. Like, for them, that store in particular, it's more cups of coffee. For one of my other stores, which is in a very like middle class neighborhood where you have the range of upper class, middle class, because all of our locations right now are in, that's not true anymore. Actually, that's not true anymore. I was going to say something else, but no, but that location in particular, that demographic maybe seems a little bit more like they're more conscious about budget. In that store, we cannot keep the bags on the shelves. Like, we sell so many bags in that particular neighborhood.
Mm.
And then I would also say, like, in more of our city locations where we're like in more hipster areas where people are all about brewing their own coffee and doing pour overs and whatever, like, they're definitely more on the bag. They're heavier on the bag side as well. But
Yeah.
in general, our retail locations get a ton of foot traffic. Like, it's
Mm.
just, we're strategically in areas where there's a lot of other stores that anchor us because people are just going there. Yeah. So it just depends.
Yeah. Understand. Let's get into some unexpected challenges. We've spoken a little bit about spending that 3 years to get coffee from the Philippines over and jumping through the hoops. Were there any other unexpected challenges you face in starting and growing Mostra Coffee?
I think just in general for any business, having capital to do what you need to do. I
Mm.
think people have this, and yeah, I think people have this like assumption, like, you have your own business, you're in control of your own time, and you make money. Like, getting paid as the owner, like, you're the last one to get paid. And sometimes you don't get paid. And for a
Yeah.
long time, like, we didn't. And we made the choice not to bring on any investors in this process. And
Mm.
we're fundraising now for the first time ever after 10 years. And so we like bootstrapped this whole thing ourselves with whatever we had in our own account, and whatever we made, it just got put back in. And that has been the biggest challenge of all. It's just like continuing to want to grow, but not take on investors yet. But somehow having the money to grow and scale
Mm.
and hire more people to support the business.
Yeah. I hear and feel your pain, Jelynn. Yeah, there's so many times where, yeah, you don't get paid and you're too busy paying everyone else that you don't end up paying yourself. And even when you do make the money, you're putting it back in, and it's a really tough journey. I don't think people see that enough. Small business owners would understand, but from the outside, not everyone realizes, oh, your place is so busy, you must be raking it in. So, the margins in our industry are like
Well,
so
and it's like,
slim.
and then it's like, you're like, in order for me to get through that rush of people that is constantly in the store, I need to schedule more people. So the labor is way more than you realize. And that is the biggest misconception, I think. It's like, because you have a lot of success and you do a lot of amazing things and your stores are busy, but like, you only got there because you invested in the best coffee, which is so expensive, and the best employees, which are expensive, and it's just like all the expenses just that are required to execute an operation like this. And
Mm.
Yeah. That is a good point.
Like all our expenses proportionate. It's like busier means more expenses. So it's not like we make more. It's not like our
No,
expenses just cap suddenly because
no.
we make more money. It's no. The more we make, the more we have to pay as well.
Yeah, and I'm feeling like my team is having to like we'll get a process figured out. We're like, okay, this is it. We got it dialed in. And then we get busier, which is amazing. And then just these new elements come into place because you're busier and now you have to redo the process. And I feel like this is like a vicious cycle of evolving this thing again and again. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
such a crazy thing.
Yeah, it's tough. It's very tough. And you're how many stores are you on at the moment?
So we have four currently open. We have two more in construction. So we have one in
Wow.
construction that'll be open the beginning of second quarter. And then we got awarded San Diego International Airport. And
Wow.
yeah,
Yes.
it's so amazing. It's like a $3 billion remodel or expansion project. And it took 8 months to find out if we got it. And I heard that we're the only Asian American owned business in Terminal One in this whole expansion project. And that one is so special to me. That one, I'm like starstruck over like the amount of traffic of people internationally going in and out of San Diego and us having an opportunity to expose the brand and our mission and the product like to the world out of that project. So six currently with the two are just in the
Yeah.
works.
Wow, that's amazing. Talk about showcasing and represent. For sure. That's amazing. Kudos to you guys, man.
Thank you.
It's a tough gig, and to be doing that and expanding and doing all of that out of your own pocket so far. Wow.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
It does get to a space so when you're thinking of bigger and bigger plans, you really need to start to think about raising outside funds, which is what you guys are thinking about at the moment.
Yep.
So all the best with that. I hope
Thank you.
you do find the right investors,
Yes.
and the right team of people to work with and push the envelope even further.
Thank you.
Jelynn, where do you see the coffee industry heading in the next decade? What's your opinion?
Gosh, I feel like the coffee industry is really trying to find ways to get into more homes. Just the surge of canned coffee has been like something I'm like, it literally went from nothing to all of a sudden, I just keep seeing another brand doing it. I think people are becoming more aware of more unknown or less popular origins. I feel like people are giving it a chance. We recently had Blue Bottle come and visit us, and they were like, "What's this Philippine coffee thing you got going on here?" And they're as big as they are, and it was really exciting that they were curious to see what the Philippine coffee thing was about. And they ended up loving it, and they asked us for the contact for our farmers in the Philippines, and we gave it to them. And they ended up recently, I don't know if you saw, but they recently had a whole Philippine coffee campaign that they just launched. I want to say maybe 6 months ago or something. And some people were like, "Why did you give them your contact? That's Blue Bottle." And we're like, the whole reason we did this was so that we could shed a light on Philippine coffee so everybody starts sourcing the coffee. It's not just about us. But so to my point, I think people are just becoming more open to exploring origins outside of the ones that everyone's been doing for so many years. I think also, and I actually hope so also, I think specialty coffee, people are willing to expand on like different types of coffee too. Like Robusta coffee and really trying to source like high quality Robusta. And because at the end of the day, like if we can continue to source coffee outside of just Arabica coffee, that's just more opportunities for farmers all over the world to produce great quality stuff and have sustainable livelihoods too. Yeah, I think there's just like a level of innovation. I think people are also stepping away from being such purists about it. getting more into instant coffee. Like Blue Bottle just has been putting out so much instant coffee, and which has been really exciting. And I feel like years ago, it just wouldn't have been an option. You know what I mean? It would have been looked
Mm.
frowned upon.
Yeah.
But now everybody's into it. They were like, yeah, like what's convenient for you? How do you want to enjoy your coffee? The brew bag coffee, I think people are just open, and I think the industry needs to like keep up with that if they want to stay in it.
Mm. I agree with all the trends and all the directions that you've just shared. I think there is a lot more to showcase around the world other than the typical origins that we normally source. Even in terms of varietals, like you said, the Robusta or Robusta coffee coming out from different regions, different quality with them. Like I remember one of my friends recently serving me one, and I was like, "Hey, this is great," and he goes, "It's Robusta." I'm like, "What?"
I know, right?
Yeah, it's breaking out of the purest mold and saying,
Yeah.
okay, there's a lot more out there. Even with signature drinks these days, people are getting really creative. Like they're
Yeah.
shaking these drinks. And one of my friends just came back from China, and he's, dude, there's this place in China where they've got 4 signature drinks, and it's like coffee, mocktail, shaken drinks and
Oh
stuff like that.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
The line is out the door. You've got to wait 2 hours, like literally, to get the drink, and that's all they serve. I'm like, okay, that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think so that's where like Mostra has been the entire time, because we didn't have that like preconceived notion, or we weren't like brainwashed by like how everyone's been doing it. So we've done all of those things you said, like we're torching the tops of our coffee with like literal torches and fire, and making mocktails and cocktails and
Yeah.
beer and food, and there's just so many applications to it all.
Man, I want to check out your store.
Yeah.
I want to visit your store.
We've talked about opening in Australia. We've talked about opening in the Philippines and really scaling internationally. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you're
Oh.
running my store. You're going to help run my stores. And
Yes, I probably will. But, coming to the tail end of our conversation, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs, especially ones coming to the food and coffee industry? With your hindsight now.
Yeah, seriously. I think the advice I would give to anyone starting a business is, one, choose something to pursue that you truly, wholeheartedly, down deep in your soul, passionately want to do. And with purpose, with a mission that can drive you every single day to get up and keep going. Because if you don't have that, like you'll be miserable, I think, because the journey of entrepreneurship is not easy at all. So I would definitely say really find that thing and that passion and that mission. And second of all, and this is probably the one of the biggest things, and I don't talk about it enough, but now that I've been doing this for 10 years, it's find the most aligned human beings to be your team, because this journey is lonely enough with a team of people that all have the same mission, but trying to do this by yourself, trying to do this with someone that isn't aligned with you as a human is just not going to work. So like people will say, don't do business with friends, don't do business with family or spouses or whatever. And at Mostra, we're breaking all the rules. Like I'm doing this with Bev, who's my best friend. Her husband is our other partner, and Mike is our other best friend. Like my sisters work for me. I have 4 younger sisters, and 3 of them work for me. My dad has worked for me. My father-in-law works for me. My husband designs all my stores. We are doing all the things that everyone tells you not to do. But the only reason why it works and why I think we've had any ounce of success is because all of us are the same type of person. We have shared goals and shared visions and shared missions, and we're just the same type of person. We're the same type of people through and through. And I think that has been the secret sauce to Mostra. It's been the team and everyone behind it. And honestly, like we've said to each other, if for any reason this would get in between our friendship and our relationships, like it's not worth it and we would stop it. But we haven't had to do that. We honestly don't have hardly any conflict at all because we're just so aligned. Everybody's just on the same track. So I would say those two things for sure.
Wow. That's such valuable advice for all the listeners there. Take that to heart. And I can see all of that really come through from you. Now that I've seen the brand from an outside perspective through just online and also now connecting with you, I can really see your North Star about really sharing coffee from the Philippines globally or around as much as you can. I can see you're always coming back to that or aligning your decisions with that. I can see that your side as an entertainer or as a performer really show because you're thinking of ways to break the boundaries and not do things so purist way and sharing with people. No, let's showcase this or showcase that, showcasing this, and it's all very different. And I couldn't agree more about finding the right team, the right people to really do this with because entrepreneurship is so lonely, and it's even when you have a team around you, like not everyone understands what you're going through. Like it's a difference between colleagues and workers and team versus people like your partners who actually have skin in the game with you. Yeah. It's so different. And if you have the support, especially through the tough and dark times, it means the world. So yeah.
So just on that note, I just wanted to say, like when COVID hit, and that was the scariest time for all of us. We were all it was very uncertain. Nobody knew what was going on. You didn't know if you were going to die. It was just such a uncertain, scary time. And when everybody around us was shutting down, we did not shut down. And I remember being the person that was like, you guys, I think we need to shut down. Like everyone's shutting down. I'm scared. Like I don't want our staff to feel like they're vulnerable, whatever. I was saying all that. And my partner, Sam, was like, if we shut down, everyone in the chain gets impacted. Everybody that we promised to help gets impacted. So we need to try to find a way to safely operate without having to disrupt the chain so everyone is still okay. And like you can imagine if you just weren't the same type of person, like that could have created so much conflict. Someone could have been like, no, I got to look out for me and my family first. And I can't do this. We shouldn't do this. I'm not okay. There's just so many scenarios that could have happened. He said that. And we are all the same type of person. And we heard that. And it was like, you're right. Let's find a way to stay open safely so that we can continue to buy the coffee. They continue because we were like, they already don't have anything. Like if we stop buying, then what? And so, yeah, that was just one example I just thought of right now when you were talking about just that kind of importance of the alignment.
Yeah, that was an extremely scary, tough, and uncertain time for all. I'm so glad that you guys made it through safely and that you guys were on the other side now. So many places had to close, and yeah. But hey, we're still kicking on, right?
We are.
Jelynn, this has been so fun, and you've got such great energy and lovely character, and it's so refreshing to interview someone like yourself. So again, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for everything, and I'd love to visit your store and your family and the people you work with sometime.
You are welcome anytime, and thank you for taking the time to hear my story. It's been a crazy journey, and I appreciate your interest and time in all of it. Thank you.
I'm sure the people the listeners that we have would love to hear about your story. It's such a unique one, and I've learned so much myself, so I'm sure they would as well.
Awesome.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kevin.
That's it for this week's episode of Brewed Awakenings. If you enjoyed what you heard, please leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to tune in next month for more steaming hot coffee talk. Thanks for listening.